week 5 of the fantasy football season, and here's a few running backs I looked at off the waiver wire. This week, guys, Jaleel McLaughlin of the Denver Broncos. So we saw Javonte Williams once again go down with injury, and they called it a hip injury, and he was pretty much ruled out of the ballgame pretty quick. So right now, I think P-Ron will be in between the tackles type of running back, and McLaughlin will be the receiving back. So right now, McLaughlin available 98% of fantasy leagues, and we've seen some flashes from him in the preseason. He was solid until he had a touchdown in that game, but this was the most work he got all season here is McLaughlin at Chicago, and he made the most of it in limited touches. 7 carries, 72 yards, 3 catches, 32 yards, and a touchdown. So right now, I know he's got a tough matchup week 5 versus one of the better frontline defenses in the league versus the New York Jets. But like I said, Javonte Williams banged up, and he wasn't performing at that great of a level. So right now, while McLaughlin could get the passing downs role, at worst case with this Bronco team 1-3 in the season, really struggling and trailing in most games, he's definitely one of the hotter pickups on the wire. And out there, like I said, in 98% of leagues, the next running back is Tajay Spears of the Tennessee Titans. So Tajay Spears, he's very involved in this offense, playing a lot of snaps in the early going this season. He's played about 35-40% of the snaps the whole year. I know the fantasy numbers haven't been there, but as a handcuff and a guy that can help fantasy owners possibly down the line, he's available right now, Spears, in tons of fantasy leagues at 76%. So the last couple weeks for him, week 3 at Cleveland, 4 carries, 6 yards, 4 catches, 3 yards. And then week 4 versus Cincinnati, 5 carries, 40 yards, 3 catches, 18 yards. So he's definitely the passing downs back role here with this Tennessee Titan team. But right now, as a guy to stash on your bench, I think it's a decent pickup because Derrick Henry, we know he's up there at age and up there in carries for a running back, where we know by 30 years old, most of these guys' best days are behind them. So right now with Spears having a decent part of this offense, even though the touches haven't been there, the definitely on the field's been there in the snap count. So right now, I give him there this week. The next running back is Samaje Perine of the Denver Broncos. So like I said early in the video, obviously Javonte Williams possibly out for a while. We don't know for sure with the hip injury. Perine, I know he's not available in a lot of leagues, only 48%. And in this game, it pretty much was a split with him and McLaughlin, even though I know that we're trailing by 21 points with Denver. So he had 6 carries, 12 yards, 2 catches, 23 yards. So Perine, I liked what I saw from him last season, obviously, with the Cincinnati Bengals. He left in free agency, went here to the Denver Broncos. And if Javonte Williams misses a lot of time, he's going to be one of the hottest pickups. Once again, here's Perine on the waiver wire. So I know it's a tough matchup versus the New York Jets coming up next week here, where a lot of teams really can't run the football. But like I said, Perine could catch the football out of the backfield as well. And he's a guy that I think could be a 3-down back if they really needed him. So right now, like I said, not a lot on the wire this week, but a potential starter if Williams is out, available in 48% of fantasy leagues. The next back is Ezekiel Elliott of the New England Patriots. Elliott, there were reports coming out before the game he was going to get a decent amount of work, but this game got out of hand in week 4 at his former team, the Dallas Cowboys, where nothing was going right pretty much. So Elliott, 6 carries, 16 yards, 2 catches, 6 yards in that game. So next week it's going to be a closer ball game between two similar teams with him and the New Orleans Saints. But we've seen Ezekiel Elliott get a decent amount of touches in some games this year. Week 3 at the Jets, he had 16 carries, 80 yards, a catch, 7 yards. And then week 1 versus Philly, 7 carries, 29 yards, 5 catches, 14 yards. Ramondre Stevenson, obviously getting the bulk of the carries, 65-35 split pretty much. But like I said, Ezekiel Elliott, one injury away from being the starting running back. And so far this season, in my opinion, he's looked a little bit quicker. He lost some weight as Elliott, and he's in good shape. And he's a guy running the football pretty well. So right now, well, he's available still in 52% of fantasy leagues, and he's getting work over there in New England. He's a running back I would add this week, and the 5th and final running back I looked at here is Jordan Mason of the San Francisco 49ers. So we saw McCaffrey have a monster fantasy game. No doubt about it, over 45 fantasy points in PPR leagues. But Jordan Mason looks like to be number 2 running back there. Elijah Mitchell once again banged up and hurt. So right now is a stash option. I would get Mason in a deeper league. Available right now, 99% of fantasy leagues. I know he only had 3 carries, 10 yards, a catch, 13 yards in that ball game. But if anything ever happened to McCaffrey, this guy could be a top 15, 20 back just on volume, and he could catch the football out of the backfield. So McCaffrey, we did see banged up on the sidelines a little bit in this game with a little bit of neck stiffness or whatever the case may be. But like I said, it looked like it was nothing serious, and he had a monster ball game. So right now, while Mason's out there in tons of fantasy leagues and it's been a quiet week on the wire, He's a running back to add this week, so that's a few running backs I look to add here in week 5 of the fantasy football season.